Travis Wayne Goodsell. Today is the Ascension of Mary for the Catholic Church. And looking it up, it was actually kind of recent when it was declared. The Immaculate Conception Virginity status of Perpetual virginity, or whatever they call it, was at the end of the 1800s, and then in the 1900s, I think around 1950s, somewhere in there, was when the Assumption of Mary occurred, which was a natural follow-up to declaring her a perpetual virgin. There's an interesting sign in the heavens. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That it goes along with it. Venus, which has been identified as the Church of Lucifer, as Lucifer comes from the Latin for Venus, and thus as the female form it's the wife of, therefore the church of. And so Mormons, which church has the inverted pentagram as the keystone representing the doctrine within their temple? And if you don't know what's on the keystone of the arch of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple, I suggest you quickly look it up. So anyway, the waning moon. Is that my ringing in my ears, or is that from the TV? I think it's from the TV. Anyway, I'll try to put these stellarium snapshots up for you. It was kind of cool watching it this morning, and the crescent was a bit bigger than it looks on the screen, but yeah, you can see the moon right there in conjunction with Venus, as Venus is at the knee of one of the two siblings, and then the moon is at the crotch. I don't draw the pictures that correspond with it, and I definitely don't control the movements of the celestial bodies. But yeah, that's where it's located right now. And it's shrinking, it's waning. And so it's losing its power, it's losing its authority. And the crescent is now in the shape of a horn, as members of the church are crying out for help. Church of Jesus Christos de los Santos de los Últimos Días. Interestingly, to give you a heads up on what's coming up, the moon will be a new moon in conjunction with Mercury at Regulus. Remember the total solar eclipse that occurred on the 21st of August 2017? Yeah, that was right there at Regulus. So we are 3 years away, and it's back on the same constellation, as the sun is always at Regulus at this time of year, and no total solar eclipse though. That's how rare they are, even though they are frequent. But yeah, Mercury is there, Mars is not this time. Where's Nelson? Russell M. Nelson, where are you? He's further back. But yeah, it's interesting. Only Trump has Mercury, as I've already identified, is there on the 18th, which is Tuesday. This coming Tuesday. So I wonder what's going to happen on that day, because it's not good for Trump, or not good for America. It has to do with kingship, because Regulus is king, and Leo the lion, that's where Regulus is. So interesting. On the 22nd, the sun will be the closest to Regulus, all by itself. So that's just a general government thing. Like the moon right now is doing its religious thing. And so on the 20th, in between those two dates, the moon will be at the head of Virgo as it's now growing. Sort of like she's eating a seed and then going to give birth to religion. She's taking in religion, and it's going to grow and come out as a child. So they're in the womb on the 21st, and then on the 22nd. So yeah, 20th is next Thursday, or this Thursday, because we're now Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday she's born. So pay attention to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in regards to religion at the end of next week. And then she becomes the judge on the 24th at the top of Libra. That's the Monday in 2 weeks. Or 1 week, I guess. 1 week and 2 days. And she's at the base. She's now been judged. She's at the star Akrab, which is symbolic of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And if you know your Bible story, that's what caused Adam and Eve to fall from the garden, being banished. But it's growing, not shrinking. So religion has passed, and is not going to be condemned to spiritual death, as it's symbolized in the heavens there. That's on the 25th. Then the 26th, the moon is now at the crotch of the throne of God, as it's still growing. And throne of God is Ophiuchus, as he's the one who battles the serpent. And I did the Altair in the bird constellation, the eagle, when I saw the falling star. I hope I did it for you. Maybe I didn't do the video. Yeah, that morning I saw the shooting star, and I wondered, that's kind of curious. That looks like a bad omen, and turned out to be a dual, both good and bad. As I found out later, the next day, that Bosnia got to see the full meteor shower from that event. So that was cool. And then on the 27th, the moon is now at the knee of Ophiuchus. Every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. And then it joins Jupiter. That's the last day for my internet service before I get kicked out. 28th. Sure, that's just a coincidence. Oh, that's the last of the pictures. Okay, so that's a heads up as to what's going on in the heavens this month, and I'll put them up for you. But yeah, the Assumption of Mary, Mother, the blood. That was a real awesome show. They sort of blew it with the final fourth movie in that series. I haven't gotten around to seeing the DVDs of the TV show, but the fourth movie made it so that, well, I guess you could sort of say he mentally collapsed and therefore did what everybody was accusing him of, as he was wanting to go back to doing it in one scenario. Or the other scenario, which the second movie suggested, is that he was actually an innocent victim and his aunt was the one who was gaslighting him to the point of thinking he was the one who was doing all the murders. But yeah, good series overall. It could have been better if they had the original author of Hitchcock thinking into the future of sequels. Hitchcock doesn't do that. But those who did do the sequels, they should have thought in advance, well, what are we going to do here? We're doing two where it looks like it's his aunt who's actually the person doing all the killing, and Norman thinks he's the one doing it. So maybe we should stick to that theme for the other two. And then the TV series, I haven't seen the TV series. I don't know if he actually does any murdering or whatever, or if his mother, the blood. But I saw Rosolian Isles. Now that we're talking about psychos, there was a book signing by a woman who had investigated and interviewed serial killers and Rizzoli and one of the other, I think Isles. Yeah, Rizzoli and Isles were both doing a presentation for her about crime scene, and it turns out that the crime scene was not a dummy, it was a real person, and it turned out to be the psycho woman who wrote the book and interviewed the serial killers in the first place, because she was like the daughter or something. And then she had raised her son also to be a serial killer. But yeah, you train a kid and they'll grow up as you've trained them. In my situation, I was born and raised Mormon, and I was trained to follow Lucifer, and I refused. And it was Joseph Smith's teachings that still carried over into Brigham's church that caused that inner battle of thought, as I was pressured by my parents and the church and peers in the church to follow Lucifer's plan, to give loyalty to the church and commit crime, and Mormons will protect me. And I just couldn't accept that as real. And so, yeah, I became a rebel as a result. But, yeah. Helaman chapter 6. 21 to 25, is it? That whole section. And the reason why you can't have them is because it destroys the nations. So, yeah. Today Mary ascended into heaven as the Perpetual Virgin. There are so many Mormon women who want to be perpetual virgins. Born again virgins. And they've never even had a child. They still, you're still a virgin if you haven't had a child. It's just so complicated because the church says, oh, you can't touch somebody. If you kiss, if you put a hickey on their neck, you're committing sexual sin. You're arousing men by the way you dress. You are the slut, therefore. Oh, dear God. And people just say, oh, okay, I guess that's the church's law. It's Jesus, right? Because it's not Lucifer who takes away agency and body shames women and abuses them and sex traffics them through polygamous marriages. So, yay. Assumption of Mary.